Hello everyone, and welcome back for another episode of Career Dev. I realized that I had left us off on the ABCs of career development right before Christmas. I think it was December 22nd was the last episode, and I kept thinking I had another one in January that I had released and checked my drafts, and no, I did not. So I wanted to come to you and make sure I share another episode and hopefully be more regular in producing the episodes out to you. So without further ado, this is the next episode, and we are going to continue the ABCs of development on today's show and talk about the letter R. And the letter R, we're going to talk about resilience, and I think the timing of this is really good. Today, as I'm recording this, is Thursday, February 13th, 2025, and happy to announce it is my 5-year anniversary of getting cancer out of my body and not having cancer. So I had on this day in 2020, I had my double mastectomy and started reconstruction, and whoa, that's crazy to me that was 5 years ago, and it feels like it's gone really, really quickly ever since. I wanted to talk about resiliency, especially in the face of, from a personal perspective and a career perspective in this episode. So from a personal perspective, thinking about having had breast cancer and having to be resilient while living my life and while trying to navigate work, family, friendships, all of those types of things throughout it, and come back on top, is tough. And even for me personally in the last few months, and probably the reason why I haven't really done much on my business in the month of January was really taking, anytime I was not working in my new role as a professor, I was resting. I had a change in medication, and I don't know that really affected me not taking it. I think it improved my health not taking it. My body was not liking that medication, and after 5 years, I was able to stop taking it. I realize now, looking back, that I had forgotten to take another medication that I should have been taking. It was in a different place other than my bucket of my meds. And then I realized that I had not been taking it for about a month or so. And it's a weekly medication to help with osteoporosis that's caused from the hormone blocker med that I quit taking. So having to work through that, give myself grace, take the rest, and know that I would bounce back. That's resiliency. And some people think that resiliency is that bouncing back, like the rubber band, coming back right away. And it doesn't have to mean right away. It can mean that you're doing what you need to do for you and taking the time that you need. On a professional front, resiliency is in thinking about specifically layoffs. So it's really weird to think that it's already been 2023 in the fall that I was laid off. So it's been like a year and a half. This fall will be 2 years since that. And it's really been wild for me since I started my new career. So I was laid off in October of 2023. I took a little time. Thank you to severance. I was able to take some time. I started my new position out of financial services into academia as an assistant professor of business in July. We started classes in August of 2024. And so that first semester, from August through early December, getting used to teaching, and I taught 4 classes, and everything was amazing. It was a lot of energy to go into it because I was doing prep and planning, starting out teaching those classes for the first time. So definitely a lot of prep work to put the other thing too is that first semester I was teaching Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So Tuesday and Thursday I was working from home, doing planning. If you think a professor or a teacher's job is just to stand in front of a classroom and teach, you are so sadly mistaken. It is so much more than that. There is a lot going on behind the scenes. And I'll probably in a future episode or something that I put out on LinkedIn share more about what some of that looks like, because it was more than I had ever realized too. All great things, but just a lot of energy going into those things and figuring out the discipline and prioritization of those different items as well. And so I had a cadence for the fall and how I worked and how I did my prep for my classes. And then as I moved into the spring semester, starting in January, I have classes. I have 4 classes. 2 are online and 2 are in class. 3 of the 4 are new to me, so they're prep. They're a lot of prep. The other one I was able to reuse and tweak, what I had done the prior semester. But classes every day in class, and the online portion, and meetings, and prepping a lot of other things that are going on, thinking about research, supporting an honors student, starting to get more advising students, just so much more with that. And I had told my husband in the beginning of this semester, probably a couple weeks in, we're in week 5. A couple weeks in, I told my husband, I was like, I feel like I have a real job again. Like, for some reason in the fall, I know I was getting, pulled in lightly at first, and had a different schedule. But I was like, being there every day, being in my office for 3 to 5 hours every day, in addition to teaching and being able to work on things, I felt a lot more productive. And if we think about it, that was just over a year since I had been in that corporate job before, and every day you're pulled into a zillion different directions with meetings and managing people and traveling and all of those types of things. So for me, it was really almost like a comeback in a way and doing it in a different way, and in a way that I am much more passionate about and have more control over. Some of that may be very cryptic to some of you. It makes sense to me. And so there's resiliency in that, and that comeback in your career. And it may not be a comeback to exactly what was before, but a comeback to something even greater. And I love that term. It actually came about as I'm working on a program that I'm going to be launching for individuals who have been laid off. So that is in the works. In December, we were done in the beginning of December. I really took some hard time for myself. Maybe not hard time, downtime for myself. Did a lot of resting, a little bit of reflection, not a whole lot. And then as I went into January, it was really full force looking at being the professor of business, focusing on that. What do I need to do for that to make sure I had a really solid foundation? And then at the beginning of February of this month, just last week, I spent a few days with the Visible CEO group led by Chrissy Connor. We were in Florida. Every quarter we get together. Once a year we travel. And so we went to Florida and had an Airbnb. We're able to rest, relax, regroup, bounce ideas, collaborate, and really get down and focus on our business. And that's something I had not really done since probably November, early December at the latest. So it was a great opportunity for me to really focus and what am I wanting to do and the direction with my business and where do I want to go. So I had an idea the end of last year to be able to provide support and resources to individuals who are laid off. And so continued to form that, and I got so much done towards this program while I was in Florida. I am reviewing with our Visible group the different landing pages, the forms, all of that type of stuff right now. I am hoping to launch. My plan is late February. I'm going to say late February. I'm going to launch before March. So I'll put that out there to the world. And very excited about how I can help people and help them realize that being laid off is a moment in time, and it does not define you, who you are, who you were, who you should be. It doesn't define your worth, and that there can be something great on the other side. It may take some time to get there. And just like I mentioned in the beginning of this episode with the rubber band and resiliency, sometimes you need to not bounce back right away, and you need to take some time. Or maybe some individuals need to do something like completely different, or really take a load off in what they're doing if they're able to kind of take some time for themselves. I can tell you, when I was laid off, I had worked for 27 years in corporate, and I feel like you're on this hamster wheel, and it's the grind day after day, and I don't think we realize it when we're in it. But once we're, in my case, I kind of say, once you're thrown off the hamster wheel, you're like, oh shit, look what they're doing. Like, that is intense. It's really intense. And so makes you think about, in your search and in your work and resiliency, is how do I want that hamster wheel to look in the future? Is it a hamster wheel? Is it something completely different? And do I want to grind and work as hard? Am I passionate about what I was doing? Do I want to switch gears and do something else? Do I want to do the same thing, but maybe in a different perspective, or there's different cheerleaders, or different support, or a different outlook, and those types of things. So please, if you're listening and you have been laid off, or you know someone has been laid off, it is not your fault. It is not their fault. There are layoffs, thousands and thousands of happening every day. In the U.S., outside of the U.S., and unfortunately they're more prevalent right now in our society, and even from a COVID on perspective, we've seen a lot. But there are resources and support to help you, and I'm excited to be able to bring that to other individuals. And from my dissertation days, so I completed my PhD program in early 2013, and I studied layoffs from a manager's perspective, never knowing that I would feel the impact of layoffs from an employee's perspective, from that point of view. And now that I have, I see that impact, and I know from my own experience and from helping so many others impacted by layoffs or career transitions, how you can get back up on your feet. You can build that resilience, and you can find what's next and what's the direction that you want to go, and you can be happy in that. So with that, I will leave you there, and I will be working on future episodes of the ABCs of development, career development, and hopefully come back to you here very soon with one of those episodes. I hope you have a great day in the meantime. Bye.